You do.
Hi, this is Penny from the Cascade Branch. It's Tuesday at 6:30, so it's time again for What We're Reading. Tonight, we're going to be talking about great books to gift for any kiddos and teens in your life. And I have with me the best youth librarian I have ever had the pleasure to meet, Liz W. from Plainfield. She's a great story time, and she has terrific recommendations. I also have Beth from Gaines. Beth has read more teen books than books I will ever read in my life. So she is a treasure trove for teens and for fantasy. So I've got the experts. Whenever I buy someone a present book, I usually buy board books by Sandra Boynton because I love them. But I gave those out. I mean, I read those to my kiddos 20 something years ago. So what are you reading now? Liz, tell me what you're reading.
Okay. I have a couple of books to share with you first. The first one is called Lift. It's by Min Lee. Lift.
Min Lee.
And yes, the illustrations are by Dan Santat, who is fantastic. Yeah. But this book is about somebody who likes to push a button. Do you know somebody who likes to push a button?
I like pushing buttons.
Well, at Plainfield, when we had people in the branch, we had a button that would open the door, and there were more tears and fights and feelings about the button than anything else. So in this story, we have a chief button pusher in the family, and her name is Iris. She pushes the button. And one day, her brother pushes it instead, and it's instant betrayal. She gets really mad, and she pushes all of the buttons at the same time, and it breaks the elevator. So, come and repair the elevator, and I'm trying to find a picture of it. And he throws the button away, so she fishes it out of the trash, and she tapes it to her bedroom wall, and all of a sudden she has her very own magic elevator. So she pushes the button and she opens the door and she enters a jungle. It's 2 pages. It's a great illustration. And she goes to space. And eventually she feels bad because her brother is left out, and she brings him along too. And they get to go on an adventure together. This is a great picture. Oops, this way, other way. There it is. This is a great picture book if you know a button pusher, but also because of it has kind of a graphic novel layout to it.
I can see that.
You might also notice that it doesn't have a lot of words. Don't be afraid of a wordless picture book, because you can make up the story, or you can just look at the pictures, or you can have your little reader read the story to you. Well, what do you think is happening? And you can read it and make it up as you go. So this is a fantastic book to use your imagination and think about what would you do if you had a magic elevator.
Or magic
so that's
button.
my first. A magic button.
That's exciting.
I like
seen that one.
It's a good one.
Either. You got one, Beth?
Do you want
one,
or do you want
So my graphic novel pick is a J level. It's called Anti-Hero. It's
right down and right side up.
Oh, yeah, it's by Kate Quinn and Demetria Luna. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Anti-Hero.
Can you put the other side too?
Anyway,
the cover, it has 2
So the story is not very long, but it's about these 2 girls, and one of them has what would she consider superpowers, but she's very clumsy. So sometimes her helping isn't very helpful, and the other girl is bad girl. So, but they end up getting together and working together, and it's just a lot of fun. It was just a really fun, quick story. Here's a oh man, this is harder than you think.
So So I love that it's graphic. And it's important to know that if your kiddo is reading graphic novels, they're still reading, and
Yes.
it's not a bad thing for them to do. I mean, it's creating a love for them to read. And I heard that it uses more areas of your brain if you read a graphic novel because it's got the spatial thing going too. Just to plug the graphics. Don't be afraid of them. And that was like an anti-hero.
Anti-hero. There, is this what you wanted? The other side?
Yeah.
That is what I wanted.
Hero.
Which one is that the anti-hero?
This is the good hero. She's the villain. It's not really that bad, but it was just a fun, quick read. I just really enjoyed it. And I would definitely gift it to someone who is very visually oriented.
Okay. Or even a reluctant reader.
Yes. Yep. And it's women. Woohoo!
Yay!
Girl power this year.
Anti-heroine.
That's okay. I'll give you that.
Give me another one.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay. I have another book here. It's called Hike by Pete.
Think about vertical with you on this one.
Oh, here we
First
go.
lift and hike.
There we go. Yeah, it's kind of a theme, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Hike is about an adult and the kid that are going out on an adventure. And I will tell you, it is another wordless picture book. But the illustrations are so fantastic. And again, you can tell the story as you read it. Well, what do you think is happening here? Have you ever been to a waterfall like that before? I haven't ever been to a waterfall like that before. But it follows their adventures of the day. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
And they see eagles, and then they go home. And some of the pages have several illustrations on them, and some of them just have one. But it was a great book because over the past spring and summer, we've done a lot of outside activities because there's not much else to do. So this might be familiar to some of our readers. What kind of adventures can you have outside? You might not be able to hike like that, but you can have your own adventures in nature and have a fantastic time with just the two of you. So Hike by Pete.
So very timely. You like it. And I'm going to stop here just for a quick second to say Monica Haynes Smith says, "Hi, Beth," from Todd Smith.
Hi. I know them.
Well, it's another book, Beth.
Okay. So with my teen books, I do tend to read fantasy. So like when little kids come and want J books, I'm like, oh, is it fantasy okay? Because that's the only thing I know. But
Yeah,
this book,
what a J book is.
What's that?
Explain to people what a J book is.
Oh, for the beginning, the chapter books. The chapter books. So and I do read a lot of teen. So there's this one author that I really, really love. And she has a really, really, really popular series, The Shadow Hunters, Cassandra Clare.
Oh, yes. Those are really thick books.
They're very thick. There's a lot of them. And I thought at some point I would be bored. I'm still not bored. I still love this series so much. It is so good.
I have a question, Beth. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is it the same characters? Because no, okay.
No, she tends to.
So I wondered if it was.
She jumps around some. You know, like the first series set in New York, kind of modern times, and then she jumped back, and so she jumps around a little bit. But I don't know. They're just so lovely. I just love them. I think this one is the children of like the people in the original one. So you see some of those other characters are kind of in the background now. The main focus is still on a different character. But I really did think I would not be reading these books anymore because they're big and long, but they're still fantastic. So if you had someone who read the original, they still might enjoy this because I don't even know how she keeps them so good, because I really didn't think I would still be reading them. They're still so good, and I love the characters so much, and she's so good at building those worlds.
The original is called Shadowcatcher?
Yeah, the Shadow Hunters.
Okay.
It was, it's part of the Shadow Hunter world.
Gotcha. So do you have to read them all in order?
No, this is like the fourth segmented from the original ones. I don't know, but still very, very, very good and gripping, and love them. And I can't wait till the next one comes out, which is going to be soon, probably towards the beginning of next year. So
now you love Harry Potter.
Cassandra Clare.
And that's a question I always get from parents. My kid loves Harry Potter. What else are they going to like? And of course, there's nothing else like Harry Potter. Is this something that you would suggest to the Harry Potter lovers who've kind of graduated from this?
Yeah, I think you definitely could. It has the magical elements, and it does bring in a different, different creatures. So like, that's one of the things I liked about the Harry Potter was all the magical creatures too. She does have some of that. A lot of demons, of course, because they're shadow hunters. They fight demons, and but it's still such a fantastic story. I don't even mind the length. So that's one I would recommend you purchase for a avid reader who loves the shadow hunters.
So maybe starting with middle school for that one?
Yes. Yeah. Did you see the length of it? It can be a little intimidating. So.
And not for a reluctant, for a reading lover. Okay, Liz, what's your next one?
Okay, it's on the floor. I have to get it. The next one, it's fine. It's called Don't Worry, Little Crab. It's by Chris Houghton. And it follows Little Crab and Very Big Crab, and they are going out into the ocean for the first time for Little Crab. And this book was great because they show a lot of, this is the picture I wanted to show you. They show a lot of the emotion through the little tiny eyes. Can you see like the wave? It's great. So they're going out into the ocean and the tide keeps coming and the little crab is like, I'm not really sure I want to do this anymore. It's kind of scary. But the Very Big Crab says, I think it's going to be okay. So as a parent, like I got a little emotional reading this because, it's going to be okay. And it's going to be exciting, even though it's kind of scary. So they finally do make it down into the ocean and they find all of these other magical looking plants. They see corals, they see fish. And then at the end, it's time to go home and the little crab says, can we stay just a little bit longer? And got over his fear, and he did it. And he said, look how cute he is. And he said, I really don't want to go home. And the crab says, we'll come back again another day. So the illustrations are beautiful. The message, even for adults, like sometimes we have to do scary things, and it's going to be okay, and you might just love it. There's been a lot of worry for the past, spring and summer and fall. Don't worry, it's going to be okay. So I love this book. I can't wait to hear it at story time when we can have story time again. Okay.
I'm going to sneak in before I give it back to Beth and throw one in, because as an adult librarian this year, I did find one picture book I was putting away that's new in 2020 that made me really, really laugh. And I don't know that it's the best. It probably isn't the best picture book in the world, but I thought it was hysterical. It's called We're Not Going to Take It by Dee Snider. And if you're old like me, you remember Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. And I was like, what? And I recognized We're Not Going to Take It as that song lyric. And I opened it up, and this is actually a book about little kids. We're not going to take it. And they just do the whole song.
You read it, Penny. You have to
sing.
Let's get to a good page.
You can't just read it.
I forget to good page. Oh, look at this. She's not going to go through the whole song and do that. And like, there are. She's like, we're right. We're free. We'll fight. You'll see. Join in. We're not gonna take it. No. Okay, that's enough. But it's gonna make you feel. It's gonna make you feel very, very old if that was, a big protest song for you way back in the early '80s, and now there's toddlers in it.
Can I say something though, Penny? Any book that you can sing along to is like the best thing ever. I love to sing along even if you just make it up as you're singing, it's a great way to enjoy a picture book if you sing it together. So if you're going to buy that book, you must sing it to the person you're reading it to.
And doesn't singing help early literacy too?
Absolutely. Yeah. It helps slow down language so that you're hearing all of the words. It helps with memorization and vocabulary. So sing all you should.
Sing.
And I totally lost track. Who wants to go next?
I'm raising my hand, just like Liz does. Okay, so continue with the fantasy theme that I particularly love and can't seem to not stop reading.
What? That's in fantasy? No.
This is my favorite book this year. It's by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner, and they have written another series that was also pretty good, but this one's better. The Other Side of the Sky. All right, there it is. Oh, it is so good. So the thing with this one, so I actually like science fiction a lot too, and I like fantasy. This one kind of combines it. So you have the one side on the ground, and Nim, she's a living goddess, right? And so she's a religious leader of her people, and she has some type of mystically powery stuff, right? But she gets this prophecy and she goes to this one specific spot and she doesn't know what's going to happen, but she knows something is vital that she has to be there. And lo and behold, it is a prince who falls from the sky, and he didn't know there was people on the ground, and they didn't know there were still people in the sky and these big land ships. And he was flying around in like one of the little ship, and he was sabotaged, and it made him crash into the planet. So it's about their journey together and how they have to reconcile that the two worlds that used to be one. They used to be the same, and now they're not. They didn't even know each other existed. And this is the book that I read and I almost threw across the room because the ending was
don't give away the ending.
What's that?
Don't give away the ending.
No, I won't. But the ending was so good. And this is the first one in the series, which is one thing I hate about fantasy. There's always a series. It was so good. I can't wait to read the next one because it had a really ending and
cliffhanger.
But Megan Spoon,
The Other Side of the Sky.
Yeah, Amy Kaufman. Yeah, The Other Side of the Sky. It is combined. This is for your fantasy sci-fi lovers. It combines both of them. Great story, great world building, great combining those two elements of either side. And I cannot wait till the next one comes out. So this is my favorite.
And that's a teen book.
That's a teen book.
Is it clean for teens?
Yeah, I don't think fantasy. Okay. So generally, like fantasy, like Cassandra Clare is a little bit more of the girly fantasy, so you're more likely to have romantic aspects. This was not so much that there's not a romance between these. At least these characters that right now, at least. Maybe that will change in the future. I don't know, but there's not a real big love interest in this book at this point.
Violence?
Well, he fell out of the sky. someone sabotages it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, and there's a big battle. There's killing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's violent.
Okay, yeah, there's some violence, but it's not graphic. I don't like to read the books that have the, really graphic stuff. I mean, I'm a wimp when it comes to that, so it's really not. I mean, if you read fantasy, teen fantasy, it's right in the same level as most of that stuff is. It's not very hot and heavy. It's not very graphic, but there is that type of action. But that's my favorite book. That's the one.
Okay. Put it on your gift list for your fantasy loving teen.
First in the series.
Got any more, Liz?
I do. I have so many more. But, okay. So the next one I want to show you is called Grandpa Grumps. And look at his is so fantastic. Grandpa Grumps is by Katrina Moore. And it's about Grandpa is coming to visit. And Daisy is so excited. And they're going to dress up. And they're going to have tea parties. And they're going to play together. But Grandpa is super grumpy all the time. He's visiting from China. So Daisy's not sure if he doesn't understand her or if he just doesn't want to play her dress-up game. So it's pretty frustrating for her. Let me find a great picture of Daisy and Grandpa. Well, here's one. So they're having a tea party. Oops, and there's Grandpa in his feather boa. He's just not very happy. So they're very kind of Pixar style illustrations in this, which I think are very appealing. So Daisy finds in Grandpa's things a recipe card. Now she can't read it, but she thinks that maybe Grandpa can, and maybe that will cheer him up a little bit if they do something together. So they start cooking together, and they go into the kitchen, and Grandpa smiles because he's cooking. So exciting. So they have a fantastic meal together, and Grandpa gives Daisy a ticket to come and visit him. And so there she is with her ticket, and they're going to go visit Grandpa in China. And then at the very end, there's the recipe in English. So you can cook that meal too, and you can enjoy it together and not be grumpy eating delicious food. So Grandpa Grumps, highly recommend. Was a lot of fun to read. And that's how I picture books too, is do I want to read it and do I think it's funny? Am I entertained by the illustrations? Yes, I am. So that makes me want to share it with other people. So make sure you're always sharing books that you like to read as well. Okay. All right. Next.
Okay. So going back to the chapter books, younger, mid, fifth grader, fourth grader, about 15 years ago, there was a book came out that was really good. It was called The Dragon Rider by Cornelia Funk. I don't know for sure how to pronounce her name. Okay, this is the second one in the series. So I had read the original book like 15 some years ago, and this one just came out. Love it. It was so good sequel. Dragons and griffins. Pegasus. There's Pegasus eggs in here. I mean, there's really so much that you can just enjoy. But it was like there was never any time between the two books at all. Like it was just an instant flow. But it's about Ben, who was the original boy in the first book, and Fire Drake, his dragon that he's the dragon rider for. If you read the original one and loved it, you'll want to read this one too and make your kids read it.
Yeah, and if your kids haven't read the first one, you could get them the first one and the second one both for Christmas.
Yes, and they're both really, really well written. It's a different story. It doesn't feel like you've read this. Another dragon book. It's not really a typical story because these dragons are under threat, and they have to find the original story. They were under threat, and they have to find this place where they're supposed to be, their homeland, where they're safe. And this is a continuation of that, but it was just very heartwarming. The Ben, the young boy in the first one, he's growing up and kind of spreading his wings, so to say. And
Get it?
but yeah, so I would recommend this book as a purchase. The Griffin's Feather. You could read this book without the first one, but it's better with the first one because you do get the backstory about why this relationship is special and, you know, more of what happened in the original story. But right now there's no plans for a third book that I know of, and it didn't end, you know, like a typical fantasy book where you have to wait for the next one for 3 years, but 15 years. So
15 years.
I know. I know. My son was young.
I haven't read the first one yet, so yeah.
I would recommend it, but it's a little thicker, but it's a J book. It is have the bigger font. So it's really a good read. There's not really pictures in it, but once in a while they'll throw in a little illustration. But Cornelia Funk had been writing for a really long time. She's German. She's just great writer. Really good world building again, which is one of my things I love about fantasy, world building. All right.
And talking about some thick books and stuff, Liz had a real good point to make about audiobooks.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
What were you telling me about audiobooks, Liz?
Audiobooks are not cheating. Audiobooks are reading. It's just a different way to read. And I recommend them to everybody. I recommend them to reluctant readers or those who read a lot and want to read more, because you can listen to an audiobook while you're doing other things. If you're a kid and you're playing Legos or whatever, puttering around the house, if you're listening to a book, you can get 2 books read at the same time. You know, you're reading one and listening to the other. But I love audiobooks. I love great narrators telling stories. I think that audiobooks are great for kids who do read a lot, because hearing a story read to you, you learn how they pronounce different words that maybe when you're reading it, you pronounce it one way in your head and you hear it and you're like, oh, yeah, I've been saying that wrong forever, you know? I think you can learn so much by listening to somebody read.
And I think it's a great way to share a book with your kiddos who maybe don't feel like they want you reading to them anymore, you know what I mean? But you can listen to it together and be part of the story.
Oh my gosh. Wouldn't you rather listen to a book in the car than listen to just about anything else?
Yes.
Definitely. I still would rather listen to a book in the car than anything else.
I feel panicky. Like I don't have a book to listen to. What am I going to do? Like I need to have them lined up and ready to go. So, but
yeah. And now on Overdrive, you can download an e-audiobook, or with Hoopla. Makes it real easy to listen on your car if your car has Bluetooth, especially like mine does. Hit it and go. Did you have any more to recommend, Miss Liz?
Penny, I have so many more. How many more can I do? One more?
With me? What?
I'm not going to do as many as we'll be here all night. I'm going to do one more. I'll do one more.
Okay, what's your favorite of the ones you have left? Okay. What's your favorite?
I don't. Okay. I'm just going to.
Okay.
It's a lot of pressure, Penny. This is Snapdragon by Kat Lee. This is a graphic novel, and I read it in one sitting. That's another great thing about graphic novels, especially for maybe not even reluctant readers, just kids who, I don't know, that are intimidated by a big chapter book, because graphic novels go quickly. And you can read them again. My own kids will read the same graphic novel over and over again. So I read this in all one go. Snapdragon is about this. That's this person's name is Snapdragon, but they just call her Snap. There's a witch living in Snapdragon's town, and she gets brave and goes to check it out. And it's just an older person living, and she collects roadkill. And she
wait a minute, what?
That's why people think she's a witch, because they see her out like picking up dead animals at night. But she puts the skeletons back together, and then she like sells them on eBay. So articulation, I think that's what it's called. The bones back together. So Snap decides to go and help her because it's kind of a cool thing to do. And she goes to the library and she gets books out about anatomy and about skeletons and how the bones go together. There is some magic in this book, but Snap finds out that the witch is actually connected to her family from the past. So she finds out a whole lot more about her own family and about why this person is living all alone, putting skeletons back together in the woods. So it was a great book. I highly recommend Snapdragon for.
I'm putting that one on my list to read. That sounds.
Oh my
good.
gosh, Beth, you would love it.
I know it's exactly something I would read. Yes, and I do know people who. My daughter likes to, look at dead animals and stuff too. So
Claire would love that one.
It's really not as weird as you think.
No.
If your kid likes that, it's not that weird.
Like, she puts these skeletons together and then she sells them for like
a lot of money.
A lot of money. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll tell my daughter that and see if maybe she can start doing that. Sell them for a lot of money on eBay.
Yes. There's always roadkill.
Okay. Well,
it's science.
Thanks for the great recommendations, you guys. I want to let everybody know that go to our website, our new website at kvl.org, and there's lots of places to get more recommendations. Look under youth. There's also something called personalized picks for kids, where you can ask us for recommendations specific to your kiddo. Tell us what they like, what they want to read, and we will send you a list of books and links to them so you can check them out at the library. So check us out, and we're happy to give you more recommendations, and we hope we can give you more recommendations in person soon.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Liz and Beth. You guys hang around a minute. Everybody else, I'll see you next week. Yay, happy reading out there.